I'll be right back.
अरे वेट ना यार, what's the hurry?
Blue Star Inverter AC with fast cool technology. Bye bye heat. Blue Star.
आयुष्य बदलण्याची संधी एकच असते, पण त्या आयुष्याचं सोनं करण्याचं जिद्द काही जणांमध्येच असते. नमस्कार, माझं नाव ज्ञानेश्वर गोसावी. मी सिंधुदुर्गातील कळसुली छोट्याशा गावात राहतो. माझं शिक्षण इथे 12वीपर्यंत झालेलं आहे आणि माझ्या घरात आई आणि लहान भाऊ एवढंच माझं कुटुंब आहे. माझे वडील वायरमनचं काम करायचे. मी शिक्षण घेता घेता त्यांना त्या कामात मदत करायचो. त्यातून मिळणारं उत्पन्न आणि शेती याच्यावर आमची रोजीरोटी चालायची. तेव्हाच अचानक आमच्यावरती दुःखाचा डोंगर कोसळला. फेब्रुवारी 2023मध्ये माझ्या वडिलांचा आकस्मिक मृत्यू झाला. घरची जबाबदारी आणि भावाचं शिक्षण याची पूर्ण जबाबदारी माझ्या खांद्यावर येऊन पडली. वडिलांकडून घेतलेल्या कामाचा अनुभव या व्यतिरिक्त मला काहीच येत नव्हतं. माझा मित्र महाराष्ट्र विद्युत वितरणमध्ये कामाला आहे. त्याने मला युवा परिवर्तनबद्दल माहिती सांगितली आणि असं सांगितलं की युवा परिवर्तन तरुणांना प्रशिक्षण देऊन सक्षम बनवतं. युवा परिवर्तनमध्ये पाऊल टाकल्यानंतर मला समजलं की जिद्द असेल तर मदतीचा कोणी हात देऊ शकतो. मी युवा परिवर्तन वायरमन कोर्ससाठी प्रशिक्षण घेण्यास सुरुवात केली आणि योग्य असे मार्गदर्शन दिले व मला प्रोत्साहन दिले.
मला खूप लोकांनी विचारलं वायरमनमधून तुला काय फायदा होणार, तर मला युवा परिवर्तन आणि स्वतःवरती खूप विश्वास होता.
कामाच्या प्रशिक्षणासोबत माझ्यातला आत्मविश्वास वाढायला ते अनुभवी प्रशिक्षक होते. त्यांनी मला योग्य ती दिशा दाखवली. त्यांच्या या मार्गदर्शनामुळे माझ्यातल्या चिकाटीमुळे कंत्राटी नोकरी महावितरण येथे 16,000 पगार. आता मला कुठे दिसत होतं की आपण यशस्वी होऊ शकतो आणि आपल्या कुटुंबाला आधार देऊ शकतो. माझ्या व कुटुंबाच्या भविष्यासाठी मी पोस्टात बचत खाते उघडले. माझी मेहनत पाहून माझ्या गावातील लोक, कार्यालयातील ऑफिस सहकारी यांनी माझा सत्कार करून कौतुक केले. युवा परिवर्तनकडून माझे प्रमाणपत्र मिळणे हा अत्यंत अभिमानाचा क्षण होता. लवकरच मला MSCBमध्ये बढती मिळणार आहे. आयुष्यात काहीच दिशा नसणाऱ्या मुलाला यशस्वी टप्प्यावर नेण्याचं श्रेय जातं युवा परिवर्तनला. युवा परिवर्तन सहप्रशिक्षण हा एक वेगळा आणि अनोखा अनुभव होता. त्यांनी दिलेलं मोलाचं मार्गदर्शन यामुळे आज मला समाजात मानाने जगता येत आहे. आता फक्त एकच आशा आहे की माझ्यासाठी जसा युवा परिवर्तन एक मदतीचा हात ठरला तसंच मी कोणाच्या तरी आयुष्यात मदतीचा हात बनावं. युवा परिवर्तन आया है.
हा व्यवसाय वाढवण्याची मला खूप इच्छा आहे. मी तशी मागणी केलेली आहे. या कोंबड्यांपेक्षा अधिक भेटली तर आम्ही अधिक, या ठिकाणी जागा भरपूर आहे, त्या ठिकाणी नेट मारून त्यांना कोंबड्यांना दिवसभर मोकळं सोडू शकतो. मी पौर्णिमा भालेकर. गावामध्ये 6 महिन्यापूर्वी प्रशिक्षण आलं होतं, कुक्कुटपालन कसं करावे. आम्ही त्या ठिकाणी गेलो तर त्यांनी आम्हाला सर्व माहिती सांगितली कोंबड्यांविषयी. कसे पालन करायचे, कसे सांभाळायच्या, त्यांचे अंडी कसे किती दिवसांनंतर देतात, त्यांचे पालनपोषण कसे करायचे त्याबद्दल माहिती दिली होती. तर त्यांच्या मार्फत आम्हाला काही कोंबड्या देण्यात आल्या होत्या. लहान पिल्लच होती, तर आम्ही 2 दिवस ती कॅरेटमध्ये ठेवली. पण त्यांचे जसं आकारमान वाढत गेलो, जेणेकरून त्यांना जागा नव्हती होत कॅरेटमध्ये. त्याच्यानंतर मग माझ्या घरच्यांच्या लक्षात आल्यानंतर त्यांनी 8,000चं खुराडं बनवून घेतलं आम्ही लोखंडी. तर त्याच्यात आम्ही कोंबड्या ठेवतो. बाहेर चालायला सोडते थोडा वेळ. त्याच्यानंतर जरा ऊन व्हायला लागलं की त्यांना आतमध्ये घेते फाळ्या बदलून. त्याच्यात त्यांना पाणी ठेवते मी प्यायला. त्याच्यानंतर तांदूळ, असा घरातलं खरकटं वगैरे असेल तर ते त्यांना भात शिजवलेला जर उरला तर कोबीची भाजी वगैरे असं काही असेल ना वेस्टेज, तर ते त्यांना देते. त्याच्यावरही त्यांचं पालनपोषण होतं. तर अशा प्रकारे मी त्यांची काळजी घेते. यामध्ये माझ्या घरच्यांची खूप मदत होते. माझ्या सासूबाई कोंबड्या जर सोडल्या चरायला तर त्यांच्याकडे बसतात. तर बाहेर काही कुत्र्या वगैरे प्रॉब्लेम असतो. इथं आम्ही गावच्या ठिकाणी, खेड्याच्या ठिकाणी राहतो, जरा डोंगराळ भाग आहे. तर कोल्हे कुत्री यांच्या भीतीमुळे मग ते आम्ही खुराडं बनवून घेतलं. खुराड्यामध्येच त्यांना ठेवत असतो. ट्रेनिंगमध्ये आम्हाला त्यांनी औषधं दिली होती. तर ते औषध आम्ही जशी त्यांना द्यायला सुरुवात केली तशी त्यांची वाढ पटापट होत होती आणि काही आजार येत नव्हते शक्यतो. तर त्यांनी आम्हाला माहिती सांगितली की खाली खराब होऊ नये म्हणून काय टाकायचं, भुस्सा वगैरे टाकायचा, त्यांना खाण्यासाठी काय द्यावं त्याची माहिती दिली, जेणेकरून त्याची भरभर वाढ होईल. आणि आता त्या अंड्यावर आलेल्या आहेत. 2 साईजच्या अंडी देतात त्या कोंबड्या. काही काळ्या आहेत, काही लाल आहेत. तर त्या कोंबड्यांची अंडी विकून आम्हाला आठवड्यातून भरपूर इन्कम येत आहे. तर कुक्कुटपालन चांगलं फायदेशीर आहे, त्याच्यातून भरपूर इन्कम मिळते आणि घर बसल्या घरचे कामं बघून मी ते करीत आहे.
युवा परिवर्तन ही ग्रामीण भागातील तरुणांना नोकरी व व्यवसाय या संदर्भात संधी उपलब्ध करून देण्यासाठी आणि प्रशिक्षण देण्यावरती काम करते. आम्ही अल्मे गावामध्ये ग्रामीण या गावातील जे गरजू महिला व तरुण यांसाठी पोल्ट्रीचं प्रशिक्षण आयोजित केलं होतं. त्या आमच्या ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्रामला आल्या आणि ट्रेनिंग कंप्लीट झाल्यानंतर TVS क्रेडिटच्या सपोर्टने त्यांना आम्ही पक्षी दिले. आता त्यांना जर आम्ही त्यांच्याकडे जर येऊन बघितलं तर आज त्यांचे सगळे पक्षी अंडी देत आहेत आणि त्यांनी जे काही पक्षी आहेत ते त्यांचं खूप छान पद्धतीने संगोपन केलेलं आहे. ज्याच्यामध्ये त्यांना त्यांचं खाद्याचं व्यवस्थापन असेल, त्यांचे मेडिसिन्स असतील, त्यांना होणारे आजार, त्यांच्यावरती उपचार, हे सगळं ते स्वतः ज्या ट्रेनिंगमध्ये त्यांना जी माहिती डिटेलमध्ये दिलेली आहे, इव्हन खाद्यसुद्धा त्या घरी बनवतात. तर ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी त्या डिटेल्समध्ये स्वतः सांभाळत आहेत. आणि
या दिलेल्या या कुक्कुटपालनाच्या प्रशिक्षण व याच्यामार्फत युवा परिवर्तन व TVS कंपनीचे मी आभार मानते. थँक्यू.
आज समाजात एक महिला उद्योजक आणि प्रशिक्षक म्हणून मी मानाने आत्मविश्वासाने जगत आहे. नमस्कार, मी सुजाता संतोष नाईक. मी माझ्या आई, बाबा, भाऊ यांच्यासोबत सिंधुदुर्ग मधील भालावल येथे राहते. मला आधीपासूनच शिवणकामाची आवड होती, पण त्यातले बारकावे मला माहीत नव्हते. घर सांभाळता सांभाळता शिवणकाम शिकून एक स्वतःचा व्यवसाय सुरू करावा आणि एक महिला उद्योजक बनावं अशी माझी मनापासून इच्छा होती. मी शिवण वर्गासाठी बरीच चौकशी केली, पण आमच्या गावामध्ये कोणीही शिवणकाम शिकवणारं नव्हतं. काही दिवसांनी मला माझ्या ओळखीतून युवा परिवर्तन बद्दल माहिती मिळाली. मग मी तिथे जाऊन शिवणकाम वर्गाची माहिती घेतली आणि लगेचच या वर्गात माझी नाव नोंदणी करून घेतली. युवा परिवर्तनच्या प्रशिक्षकाने माझ्यासारख्या इच्छुक स्त्रियांना अगदी मनापासून शिवणकाम शिकवलं आणि त्यांना आपली कल्पकता कशी जोपासावी यासाठी योग्य सल्ला दिला. युवा परिवर्तन मध्ये असणारी सर्वात चांगली गोष्ट म्हणजे उत्तम प्रशिक्षक. त्यांनी प्रशिक्षण वर्गाच्या पलीकडेही जाऊन आम्हाला नेहमी प्रोत्साहन आणि मार्गदर्शनही दिले. तसेच माझ्यासारख्या स्वप्ने असणाऱ्या महिला देखील मला भेटल्या आणि आमच्यात मैत्री झाली. युवा परिवर्तन मधून प्रशिक्षण पूर्ण केल्यानंतर मी माझे स्वतःचे व घरच्यांचे कपडे शिवून सराव केला. थोडा आत्मविश्वास आल्यावर युवा परिवर्तनच्या मदतीने मी माझा व्यवसाय सुरू केला आणि त्यासाठी लागणारी शिलाई मशीन विकत घेतली. सुरुवातीला मी माझ्या आजूबाजूच्या महिला व युवतींचे कपडे शिवू लागले. माझं शिवणकाम सर्वांना एवढं आवडू लागल्यामुळे मला अजून काम मिळू लागलं आणि त्याच्यातूनच मला चांगलं उत्पन्नही मिळू लागलं. माझी ही कला इतर महिलांना शिकून त्यांना देखील एक महिला उद्योजिका बनवावं असं माझ्या मनात होते. युवा परिवर्तनने माझ्या कलेवर विश्वास दाखवला आणि मला इतर महिलांना प्रशिक्षण देण्याची संधी दिली. व्यवसायातून मिळणाऱ्या उत्पन्नातून घरच्यांना थोडीफार मदत करून चांगल्या भविष्यासाठी पैशांची बचत करू लागले. आता मी स्वतःचा व्यवसाय सांभाळता सांभाळता इतर महिलांनाही प्रशिक्षण देऊन त्यांना मदत करत आहे. समाजात अजूनही अशा स्त्रिया आहेत ज्यांना स्वतःच्या पायावर उभं राहायचे. मी जेव्हा अशा महिलांना भेटते तेव्हा त्यांना युवा परिवर्तनचे नाव नेहमी सुचवते. माझी अशी खात्री आहे की जसे माझे युवा परिवर्तनमुळे आयुष्य बदललंय तसं त्यांचंही आयुष्य नक्कीच बदलू शकेल. मी आता एक स्वावलंबी यशस्वी महिला उद्योजक आणि प्रशिक्षक झाली आहे. यासाठी मी युवा परिवर्तनची कायमची ऋणी राहील. धन्यवाद. युवा परिवर्तन आया है.
तोच नॅशनल अँथम्सला तो कुठे आहे तो माणूस तो करेल ना बरोबर. May I have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? Good evening and welcome everybody. On behalf of Kherwadi Social Welfare Association and Yuva Parivartan, I extend a warm welcome to everybody and thanks for taking time out to come and be with us. Before we start the proceedings of the day, may I request everybody to stand up for our national anthem, please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind. I mean, as is our tradition, to have an auspicious start, may I request Dr. Janmay Sinha to come up for lighting the lamp. Mr. Shivanand, Mr. Kishore Kher, Mr. Gopal Krishnan, Gopal, and Mrinal for lighting the lamp, please. Saukyam, sir. Dr. Sinha, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, please be seated on the dais. Kishore. Kishore is here. Thank you. Just for everybody's benefit, the program today is about 2 hours and we expect to close the function by about 7:15, if not earlier. Okay, so we are timing it so that nobody is inconvenienced and it's short and crisp. Having said that, I mean, most of you may be aware that Yuva Parivartan was a movement which was started in 1998 at the initiative of Kishore Kher, who is the grandson of the first Chief Minister of the then combined state of Bombay, Mr. B.G. Kher. And most of you would be familiar with the eponymous roads in Mumbai. So that talks about the pedigree. So the purpose of that mission was clearly to give an opportunity to school dropouts and people who are underprivileged in terms of making them productive citizens of India, training them, skilling them so that they are employable. That was the objective. And over the past 25 years, I mean, we concluded 25 years last Feb, and the last 1 year has been a year of celebration in terms of what we have done and what we are planning to achieve going ahead for the next 25 years. That's the objective. And over the last 25 years, I mean, we have expanded our footprints over 18 states, and I would like to believe that we have transformed the lives of nearly 1.2 million people. Am I right, Kishore? 1.2 million over the last 25 years of our existence. And during the last year, I mean, in the last 1 year, the run-up to the valedictory function that we are having today, the conclusion of the year, we have started new initiatives in the same direction in terms of called Yuva Engage, which is essentially partnering with various NGOs across the country so that we have a multiplier effect, because you can't achieve everything with just one organization. The idea is to enter into a partnership. That's what we did. And with this brief background, so that you understand the purpose of today's this one, we have excellent keynote address by Dr. Sinha, which will be coming up, Dr. Janmejaya Sinha. And we have the valedictory speech by Mr. Shivanand later on, before the conclusion of the ceremony. And in between, we'll have some panel discussions as well. With this, may I request Kishore Kher, who is the president and trustee, to do his, set the context for the entire proceedings. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the 25th year of Yuva Parivartan, which Mrinal and I founded, but also the 96th year of our parent organization, the Kherwadi Social Welfare Association, which Mr. B.G. Kher founded and whose centenary we'll celebrate in 4 years. I think we've been blessed that we could celebrate perhaps the silver jubilee of one and the centenary of the other. In setting the context, I would like to, in fact, narrate briefly the story of Yuva Parivartan as related to Bharat. Because rather than throwing statistics at you which make little impact, we all know that the numbers are huge, I think it's better understood through what we have been doing, and though we have scratched only the surface, it's relevant to a much bigger program which hopefully will take place in the following years. So beginning in 98, for the first 10 years, Yuva Parivartan concentrated on urban areas. And we had several centers over major metropolis. and in all over India. In fact, we worked in 18 states. But we soon realized that there were opportunities for urban youth, whereas there were none or negligible ones for rural youth. And therefore, a fairly sharp kind of change in course, which was the discovery or the starting of rural skilling and livelihood camps, and from 2008. And this was done, just to briefly explain what we do, there are about 500 people whom we employ in the field. And like a typical FMCG organization, which has salesmen, area managers, and then regional managers, etc., we have a frontline person called the field coordinator. And we had 300 plus of those. And these people go to villages as per a predetermined program and a tour plan, and they go to the village infrastructure that is available, namely the sarpanch, the talati, and the Asha health worker, the Anganwadi teacher, some SHG heads. So whatever is available, they contact them, and preferably on market days when there are more visitors, and they sell the concept of skilling and livelihoods through that. So I include entrepreneurship in skilling because in villages there are no jobs. It's primarily entrepreneurship or self-employment. So after contacting these people, we then start the mobilization drive either through group meetings or through individual house calls. And as soon as the batch of 15 is ready, the camp starts, and usually that's a rented space which is small with high capacity utilization. I say this particularly because I've noticed a trend in the recent past where fairly large companies have huge centers, very low capacity utilization, and with all the investment, they turn out a few hundred youth a year through year-long programs. Now, that is not what youth are used to, and their attention span is low, and we deal particularly with deprived youth, which are often dropouts. So, our courses are generally, in villages, generally a month for craft courses like electrician, plumbers, or carpenters, masons, painters, etc., or paramedical nurses, beauticians, and a few others, tailoring for ladies. And these are, and also we have farm-based courses which are generally of 3 to 7 days. So this in fact ensures we also charge a fee, because we experimented in the initial stages where we found that when we didn't charge a fee, there was very poor attendance. So the value of the program increased with the fees. After that, we found that there were a few other things required to be done, which was particularly the change in attitude as far as livelihoods is concerned. There was not enough traction on that front, and so we started a proprietary program called Soch Ka Parivartan, which in fact dealt with the fact that you have to earn a living or livelihood after you finish the course. Most of the courses are taught through both a mixture of videos and online, and as well as offline, the teacher explaining the subjects. At the end of the course, there is assistance for livelihoods. It's not as if everyone is guaranteed a job. In fact, no one is guaranteed a job because there are no jobs available. So if we are saying, I mention this because we have had poor response from large donors. We've had a great response for our urban programs, but very poor response for rural programs. And that's because all decision makers are brought up in the urban milieu and therefore don't understand the significance of rural programs or the dynamics of it. So in the sense that they would insist on a certain percentage of jobs. Now, where would jobs be available in villages? So these are some of the challenges that we faced. But however, I think in the recent past, it's just about a year or so, things are beginning to change. But I'd still urge you in your conversations with people to bring out this fact, and I would also request media and our media team to ensure that this message goes out. There should be more rural-facing reports which deal with the situation as it exists in villages, rather than assuming the urban ethos to be all-pervasive. So this, in fact, then is the challenge. I have only one regret, and that was, I remember a conversation with Dr. Ganguly at the inception stage when we said that we should make Yuva Parivartan a movement. And this was something that was dear to Mrinal's in my heart. But things turned out to be such a way that we couldn't make it into a movement which would be self-sustaining. It became, in fact, a program which we had to drive. And while we've driven it reasonably well, about 1.5 million youth till date, and we're currently doing about 150,000 a year. But that's still a drop in the ocean, and there needs to be many more people, many more NGOs like us who can multiply this forward. I find that there are very few NGOs or even other programs which are rural-based. The only ones I know of are those which are conducted by our former colleagues who've left us and started such programs. I wish there were more, because by then we would then have millions of youth. And that is my concluding note, that we ourselves are hoping to get up to 1 million, and that would be the story for the next 25 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kishore, for the granularity about the program. That's helpful. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thanks for that granularity, Kishore. I appreciate it. And that would have given more information to the audience here. Now, before we start with the keynote address by Dr. Janmejay Sinha, we would like to have a window to felicitate them. May I request Mrinal, Gopalakrishnan and Kishore K to facilitate Dr. Janmejay Sinha. Mrinal? Mrinal Kher and Vikram Rao to felicitate Mr. Shivanandan. May I request you to take your seat, please? And before we start with the next one, I would like to call upon stage Carol Andrade to be felicitated by Mrinal and Veena Gidwani. Just as a brief note, Carol is a senior editor, a journalist. She has worked across Times of India, Afternoon Dispatch and Courier and Midday. Am I right, Carol?
Yes.
So she has been a great supporter of Yuva Parivartan right from its inception. We would like to take this opportunity to felicitate her for that. Thank you so much, Carol. Carol, we went on a hike years ago, you remember? I thought. I know Carol from the past. I mean, during our childhood days, we had gone on a couple of hikes together. I was just trying to remind her about that. Okay, Mr. Gopal Krishnan, may I now request you to give your address to the audience before we go to the keynote speaker? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Nagesh. I think we have a very interesting speaker in Janmejaya Sinha, a wise man. So I shall just share a few idle thoughts. I'm very honored, first of all, Kishore, Mrinal. I just happen to be the chairman of Yuva Parivartan. I have not been there for 25 years. And therefore, in the beginning, I would like to honor all the employees of YP. If you and your predecessors hadn't done what you did, we would not be having this function. We would like more of you, and we'd like more of you to stay with YP. But we do understand that life takes its own directions, and YP is very grateful to you for what you have done in the past, what you will do in the future, and we are fully supportive. So thank you. For us, all of us who are organizing this, you are the biggest chief guest, if Janmejaya doesn't mind, the employees of this YP. That does not detract from the fact that we are very blessed to have two very distinguished guests with us, both very well known. Janmejaya Sinha is the chairman of BCG, and he's done a lot of work and he does a lot of writing on rural India, women, income, and we will wait to hear from him about his thoughts for YP. And who doesn't know Shivanandan? If you don't know Shivanandan, then I don't know what to tell you. He's the most wonderful chief of police we've had in this city. But we've had many people who've been chiefs of police, all of them very distinguished. But here's a man who set up Roti, NGO which feeds people. And for a policeman who has occupied that kind of position, you know how a DGP, IGP of police is treated in Bombay city. And then to come, if I may say so, down with humility to the level of feeding people, Roti is something very inspiring, very inspiring. Those who believe there is not much of a life after retirement, we can get great inspiration from him. We also have in the audience present and past members of the advisory board. I recognize Neelu Gidwani there. I recognize Dr. Ashok Ganguly here. And present members like Srivastav, Varun, and I'm very happy Aarti is also here, his wife, who's a fantastic social service academic in her own right. Srinath, Venkatadri, and if I've forgotten anybody, I apologize. This may be an opportunity for me to just say a few words about why I enjoy my retired life spending some time with YP. I don't do it out of any compulsion. In fact, none of the advisory board members do it out of compulsion. In preparing to say what I want to say, I tried to recount my own association with rural India. In my 50-year career, in one form or another, although as Kishore says, we are all Bombay-based people and urban in our thinking, somehow my career has taken me into an interface with rural India. Initially as a sales manager, distribution manager, you're constantly traveling in small places. Subsequently, trying to source agricultural commodities which come from farming commodities. Then, although I'm a vegetarian, my company bosses decided I should handle all the non-vegetarian business. So I got animal feeds, poultry feed, marine products. And when I joined Tata's, of course, the outstanding example of Tata Trust, and we have the CEO, former CEO of Tata Trust, Srinath, on our advisory board, is very inspiring. And so I've had a connection. When I was in Hindustan Lever, we also had an integrated rural development program. So whatever I'm going to say to you doesn't come out of reading books or articles, but out of some deep feeling for rural India, which I have encountered during my career. About 15 years ago, the Forum of Free Enterprise requested me to come, and I made 2 speeches. I'm not here to boast about my speeches, but I want to tell you its relevance to the occasion today. The first one was an A.D. Shroff Memorial Lecture, in which I spoke about the prosperity of India through going beyond urban India. And the second one was also under the auspices of the Forum of Free Enterprises, in which I stuck my neck out and said, the best 15 years for India are about to happen. This has nothing to do with UPA, NDA, so please put all those aside. You can watch TV this evening and find out who's responsible for it. That's not my subject. I just made the statement in isolation. Because the power of India, of Indians, who were sitting on a self-propelled rocket, was what was inspiring me. Imperfect. Nothing in the world is perfect. And at that time I said, I'm not a forecaster, I'm not an economist, I'm not a consultant. So I said India's economy in 2007 was $1 trillion. In 15 years, it will be $4 trillion. Today we are at 3.8. And I also made another statement, which some thought was a bit crazy. I said, we are lagging 13 years behind China. So if China today is 10 trillion, India will be 10 trillion in 2035. And as you know, after a lot of calculations and advice from consultants, those are the numbers that are coming. Not because I'm a smart guy. I want to emphasize that. This Gadi is moving on its own. Some people are pushing it. Some people are stopping it, as happens. And it's nothing to do with one party or another. Jo hona hai, so hona hai. Now, I'm mentioning this to you because when I was in Tata, still in service, we had a Department of Economics and Statistics, which is very relevant, a study they did, which I published in my speech, to what is being said now. Oh, my old friend Bhagwan, please come, sit down. They had done a study of rural India and what it takes to make rural India work. And they put at the center of it rural enterprise, what Kishore spoke about a few minutes ago. And they said there are 4 things that are driving it. First, infrastructure. I'm not going to explain each of these because they're self-explanatory. Second, social capital. Attendance to health, education, training. Third, finance and facilitation. And fourth and last, rural MBA. We need to move MBA not by converting the IIMs into rural, but by creating a lexicon for people, common people, to understand profit, loss, revenue, etc. And I mentioned that in my speech. Many people have done a lot of work around these. And it's not that these things are not forgotten. It is because of the work they have done, imperfect though it may be, scalable it may not be, that we are in the condition we are today. It's layer upon layer of incremental improvement. And I think when the history of India is written 100 years from now, when we'll have the 200th anniversary of Kherwadi, KSWA, they will write that doggedly the people of India pursued 2% improvement, 1% improvement year after year for 100 years, and now they've reached, I have little doubt in my mind, they'll reach a very high peak. And the key to all this, having been in marketing in my life throughout, I captured in the words that Kishore and Milind Chitre is here as the CEO, in a discussion with them, that we need women. Women do a lot of unpaid work which doesn't add up to GDP. It's my bone with Janmejaya. If you added the women's work and the value of it in some way, I think our GDP numbers will, I'm not saying it will double, but something good will happen to it. So women plus income, plus skilling them. They are not born to cook. or produce babies. That we are not in that era. They are very enterprising. When you give them a little bit of income of their own, they are very different. I once went to 4 villages, one in west, north, east, south, when this 92nd amendment to the constitution was done for devolving to the panchayats. And they said 1/3 of them must be women. I was very curious. So I sat in the village sabha, one in Maharashtra, one in Andhra, one in eastern side and one in north. And I wanted to see how those women participate. Yeah, they came in with the ghungat and all that. But boy, when they cleared their throat, they did. To me, and these were not, people think of village as, I'm talking of village in the way the census defines it, less than 5,000 people. I'm not talking of, people think, Pune is a village or Karad is a village. Those are not villages. So I think there's a killer idea in women, income, skills, enterprise, and rural. It just so happens that they add up to wiser. And I think if this mantra is what YP is all about, whether they display it as a logo or not is not the point, then I think there's a great long future for, and Kishore, don't worry that it has not become a movement. Even Gandhiji took a lot of time to make his ideas into a movement. And so this will be a movement. Whether it happens in your time and my time, I don't know. But I want to bless YP and wish everybody all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gopal. That was inspirational as well as aspirational. Thank you so much. Indulge me just about 3 minutes. Let me introduce Dr. Janmejaya Sinha. He is going to be the keynote speaker. Just bear with me for 2 minutes. With your permission, Dr. Sinha. Janmejaya Sinha is chairman of Boston Consulting Group, called BCG. That's the acronym. Previously, he served as chairman of Asia Pacific region between 2009 and 2018, and as a member of the firm's executive committee between 2006 and 2018. Currently, he is a member of the Boston Consulting Group's Henderson Institute Innovation Sounding Board, which is dedicated to supporting, inspiring, and guiding upstream innovation at BCG. He is a co-author of Untangling Conflict, an introspective guide to families in business, published by Penguin, and Your Strategy Needs a Strategy, published by Harvard Business Review Press. He also co-edited the book titled Own the Future, published by Wiley. In 2010, the consulting magazine named him as one of the top 25 influential consultants in the world. He is a member of the Confederation of Indian Industries National Council and currently chairs the CII Mission on Inclusive Growth, CII Task Force on Data Security, and co-chairs the CII Economic Affairs Council for the year 2023-24. He has been a member of various committees set up by the Government of India, Reserve Bank of India, and Indian Banks Association. He was a member of the Committee of Chief Ministers on Adoption of Digital Payments. He serves on the boards of Center for Energy, Environment and Water, the Nature Conservancy India, Anant Center, the CII Triveni Water Institute, Army Insurance Group, the Economic Times Advisory Council, among others. He regularly writes in the press and is a regular speaker at WEF, CII, IBA, FICCI, RBI, and other media events. Many of you may be surprised. Prior to joining BCG, he worked with the Reserve Bank of India, and for several years, across different departments, he has worked briefly for the World Bank. Dr. Sinha has a PhD from the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs, Princeton University, US, a BA and MA in Economics from Clare College, Cambridge, University, UK, and a BA and MA in History from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University, India. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Dr. Sinha, all yours.
Mr. Kher, Mrs. Kher, Gopal, Mr. Shivanandan, distinguished audience. I mean, people very distinguished, much more distinguished than me. They just make me nervous, unfortunately. But, whenever you come to talk to an audience, you always worry. Why should you listen to me? And that really makes me very nervous whenever I come and try and speak to people. But it is such a privilege and honor to both honor Mr. Kher and his legacy. He was a Padma Vibhushan for good reason. Not only did he serve as the Chief Minister, he was also India's High Commissioner to the UK. And to think at that time, to be able to identify what would be the key lacuna for a country like India was, almost Gandhian in its thinking. So I want to talk in terms of just imagine. I'm showing you different pictures. And they will be good pictures and they will be bad pictures. And that is the overall, that all those pictures put together is who we are. So imagine in 1947, when the British left India, would they have imagined? I think there was this, in the British House of Commons, there was some discussions about whether India would collapse in a year or 6 months. Now, imagine at that time that our average age, the life expectancy in India was 32. We were given adult franchise at start. Who would think today that that same India with illiteracy at around 67%, not uneducation, illiteracy at around 67%, an amalgam of so many languages, so much food, so many religions, just coming out of the greatest movement of people, 6 million people moving across the country, 1 million dead. That picture is suddenly today another picture. That, you have life expectancy of 70, you have a working democracy. However much we may hate our democracy, do you prefer America's? Do you prefer, which country's democracy would you really trade right now? Would you want a criminal running for president? It is quite interesting if you look across the world to see what has happened to governance. If you look that we have a working democracy, we have life expectancy of 70, the fact that, we could actually win a test match against England. If you talked about in 1947, they would have found that the Lagan story would start coming up. So if you take one picture of 1947 and today's, you would be forgiven to feel very happy. But you would be forgiven. Because while there is a lot for us to be proud of, we cannot be happy. That luxury we do not have, and you all understand. So, what do I mean by that? Now I'll show you another picture of India. Whenever foreign CEOs come to India and ask me, I've been disappointed with India. India has not delivered, etc. In the last 5 years, it has started to change a bit. Not so much because of India, but because of other countries. And what I always tell them is that, you would have been told about urban-rural India. You would have been told about 22 different states in India. You would have been told about different languages in India. But let me offer you 3 Indias. The 3 Indias which I am going to suggest are an amalgam of the world. And I'm going to explain why India becomes vital, not for India, but for the world. So just now, India has 3 groups of people living in it. We have about 50 million Europeans who earn European incomes, who earn around $42,000 per annum on average. And they could have been in Spain. We have another 425 million Indians who are living in Indonesia. They all have their scooters and their cars, they all have houses, they have a basic toilet, they have dignity. But we have more than 900 million Indians living in sub-Saharan Africa. And what we must all applaud, all of you, is that you all are wanting to lift the 900 million Indians living in sub-Saharan Africa. So for all businesses, just Europe and Indonesia is good enough. Because if you say 425 million people, it will be the second biggest country in the world anyways. So that's fine. Who cares? So whether every foreign company, most Indian companies, frankly only serve the top 2 segments. It's the government that has to deal with the 900 million. Now in this I will make another point. My friend Manish Sabarwal always says a very deep point. We don't have an unemployment problem. We have a wage problem. Everyone in India is working. They just don't earn enough. And so the people who are working in agriculture should be released from agriculture so that they can earn more. But for that, they need skills. And many of them are not educated. So they need vocational skills. The people who need the skills are those who have dropped out from school or who have not had the best education in school. That's what you all are doing. The interesting thing here is that the enormity of the issues that we face can actually only be dealt with in India. Because we have got an ability to continually adjust, to change, but we keep improving. Now, if you go, very few people know actually that for the last 30 years, not 5, not 10, not 15, not 20, for the last 30 years, India has been the second fastest growing economy in the world at 6.5%. That is a very remarkable statistic, beaten only by China. And it is something that we have done, defying the odds. Quite simply, by defying the odds. And it is all these small movements all over the place which are fixing things. You know, at one stage I used to be on the advisory board of one of the state's chief ministers committee. And the chief minister was telling me, सिन्हा साहब, आपको बिहारी लोग के लिए सलूशन नहीं चाहिए. आप उनको दिखा दीजिए ना थोड़ा फल दूर में है, उन लोग अपने से आके ले लेगा, मगर वो दिखा तो दीजिए. उतना काम करने के लिए तो उन लोग तैयार है. वैसे इनकी जिंदगी भी तो इतनी खराब है. So they are all wanting to advance on their own. Actually, none of them, I loved it when you said that you have to charge for your courses. It's exactly right. It's exactly right. They're willing to pay, they want advancement. You know, whenever people say, oh, we need to create jobs, you know, jobs have to be created by people themselves. How can you create, you know, at every age, between 0 and 20, India has an Australia. We have 20 million people at every age between 0 and 20. How many of them fall off the funnel of the school? And what do they learn in that school anyways? And I saw one of your trustees is doing something on AI. You know, we have to address some of these core issues with new ways. We have to address them in new ways. What you are skilling, you have skilled about, what, 600,000 people a year or something? 1.5 million. So I'm just saying, you're talking about scaling. India needs scale. The only thing we need is scale. Because there are too many unskilled young people. And their lives are ahead of them. Now, why are they important? You know, today, if I was to give you a set of population numbers, China right now has 1.4 billion people. How many do you think they will have in 2100? Anyone with any guess? They will have 780 million people. They would have shrunk to half. Japan right now has 128 million people. Just when India turns 100 in 2047, how many people do you think there will be in Japan? Less than 100 million. If you take Japan, South Korea, China, their population will reduce by 1 billion people. India in 2100 will also have 1.5 billion people. So the next billion, just now the world has 8 billion people. The world will stabilize at 10 billion. The next billion will come by 2042, and the billion after that will come by 2070. This is the only prediction other than Gopal's which will be accurate, because this cannot change. These 2 billion people, when the next billion will come from 12 countries, and the billion after that will come from 10 countries. The 12 countries are India, Pakistan, Indonesia, and the rest in Africa. And the billion after that will be India, Pakistan, and 8 countries from Africa. So the world needs all Indian youth to be skilled. Otherwise, it is not just an India problem. That is why we have Vasudeva Kutumbakam, because we understand that our responsibility is to the world. The second thing that you all are doing is the other half of the world, which is women. And the truth of the matter is, so many studies have shown this conclusively and not open to challenge. In those households where women have a 10th standard education, malnutrition, wastage of children is much less. The number of criminals that come out, and this I will not speak to the Director General of Police here because he will know this better. I must say that when Gopal said everyone knows you, I said no, only the bad people know you. The good people stay away. But the truth of the matter is that wherever women get empowered or first get educated and then get empowered, those structures become more stable. So, I really think you all are doing something where it is a privilege to address you. You know, it is such a critical job which is being done for the future, not just of India, but the world, and for a peaceful society. Because if you were 25 without any hope and without any education and without any life, why should you not be unhappy? Why should you not be angry? You know, many of us have just lucked out. So we can't avoid that guilt. You know, I have been lucky. Every scholarship that India has had, I have taken. Everyone. I come from Danapur, a small town in Bihar. So I did not miss out on any scholarship. I have spent 11 years in university. I was born to be a professional student, but it didn't pay enough, so I stepped out. You know, otherwise I would have stayed in academics. And I got all that on many scholarships, so I was very happy with them. But they weren't enough, you know. I mean, there were very few scholarships because every time I'd get a scholarship, I knew everyone hated me more, you know. I mean, so it was one of those things which you had to deal with. So, you know, what I wanted to just say is that the biggest challenge, the two biggest challenge that India faces today, you all are addressing. You must scale more. That's all I want to say, that you must scale more. And you must scale more because I will end by saying that, you know, when I'd come back from India, to India in 98, my father knew a top-notch bureaucrat who has told me, when you are telling this story, I can't reveal who he is because he'll get into trouble. So that's why he has said, but I will tell you the story nonetheless because it's true. And I think it's quite powerful. So he came, he was also a Bihari bureaucrat, that much I will tell you. So I went to meet him. And he said, and I'll speak in Hindi, so if you don't follow, I'll translate it. He said, Bahua, PhD, HD करके आए हो प्रिंसटन से, बताओ तो भारत कैसे चलता है? तो ऐसे नहीं सर, आप बताएंगे. तो बताएं, तो बोला बताइए सर. तो भारत जो है ना, भारत ऐसे है कि बहुत बड़ा है. तो बोले हाँ सर वो तो पता था. तो फिर बोले कि प्रधानमंत्री आते हैं, बोलते हैं गोल्डन क्वाड्रिलैटरल, हम लोग सब दौड़ करके सड़क बनाने लगते हैं. फिर कोई मुख्यमंत्री आते हैं, बोलते हैं जो बेटियां स्कूल में हैं उनको साइकिल बांट दो. तो हम लोग बड़ा सा उद्घाटन करते हैं, वहाँ पर साइकिल बांट देते हैं. क्या सोचते हो वैसे भारत चलता है? तो बताइए ना सर. भारत जो है ना कहाँ चलता है? गांव में चलता है, छोटा मुफस्सिल टाउन में चलता है, अपने से चलता है. हम लोग कोई नहीं जानते हैं भारत कैसे चलता है, बस वो चलता है. So I just wanted to say कि आप लोग उसको आगे बढ़वा देते हैं, and that is the greatness of Yuva Parivartan. I must congratulate you for what you stand for and what you are doing. आप लोग जो भारत अपने से चलता है उसको उसकी गति आप लोग बढ़ा देते हैं. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Sinha. So one clear takeaway is that we will have 1.5 billion people by 2100. That means for the next 75 years, we are going to reap the demographic dividends, right? So that's a good thing to hear, and it's a promising future as well. So that's a good thing to note. Only thing I wish I could be reborn during that period, Dr. Sinha.
But they should also remember he talked about scale 2 or 3 times.
Yes. Scale and AI. AI, you talked about AI, right? Yeah, so I think we need to be cognizant of that. And with that, I think we have a panel discussion coming up, and essentially it's going to be addressing the rural livelihood, what are the challenges and opportunities that we are facing. That is in the context of what you see bringing prosperity to Bharat through entrepreneurship and skilling that Kishore talked about in the beginning. Now, life is always a musical chair. Because there is limited chairs, may I request you to get off the stage for a few minutes, please. Thank you. The panel discussion is going to be, I'll be calling out the people who will be a part of the panel. It's going to be moderated by Suman Srivastav, who is a co-member on the advisory board along with me and others. And may I request you to come on stage, Suman? Just a brief introduction. Suman is a marketing wizard, ad and marketing wizard. He runs a company called Marketing Unplugged. And he has also written 2 books. One is Marketing Unplugged and the other one is Don't Beg, Inspire. Essentially based on the social sector. And is also very active in the social sector as we speak. He is going to be moderating the panel. The panelists are, we have Mr. N. Srinath. N. Srinath, may I request you to come on stage, please? Srinath is an engineer and MBA by profession, and he has been a career Tata Group person. Worked across different companies and different sectors, and his last tenure before he superannuated was as the CEO of Tata Trust, which everybody knows about how immense an impact Tata Trust bring to the society here. So that's Srinath. Then can I request Ratish Balakrishnan to come on stage, please? Ratish is the co-founder and principal managing partner in Sattva Consulting. Sattva Consulting, as you know, is in the social sector. Essentially, they bring together the foundations, the donors, the organizations, etc., connect them, strategize with them as to how to utilize the fund and how to bring about an impact. May I request Shilpi Patni, who works with Akka Darshak. Shilpi? Yeah, please come on stage. Shilpi is an associate vice president with Ak Darshak. For those of you who may not know about Ak Darshak, it's an organization in the social space which helps people, the beneficiaries. The governments announce various programs for people, right? Majority of the people are not even aware of those programs. Ak Darshak was set up with the idea of letting them aware of what the benefits are and how they should go about benefiting from those. That's the objective. With this, I'll hand it over to the moderator, Suman. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nagesh. Thank you for having us here. I think I've got a wonderful panel, so I'm not going to talk much. I'm just going to briefly reintroduce the panel to you. Just the little bits that I want to add to what Nagesh has already said. To Mr. Srinath, he's actually he's got all the wonderful initials you can have in the world, right? IIT, IIM, TAS, all that. That's him in a nutshell. He's had a full career basically with the Tata Group, but in the Tata Group in technology. And so that's interesting because I think all my three panelists have had some background in technology, and we've got to see how important, as Dr. Sinha said, technology is going to be in getting Bharat to 100 and so on, which we'll talk about. So he's been with all kinds of technology companies that Tatas have had. So Tata Honeywell, Tata IBM, Tata Teleservices, Tata VSNL, which became Tata Communications, and so on. And so he's been, he's been Mr. Telecom in India for a really long time, Telecom CEO of the Year, Telecom Person of the Year, all kinds of things like that. But more importantly, from our point of view, he was then the CEO for Tata Trust for the last 2 years, and he's had a solid grounding in the social sector. His wife, by the way, has been in the sector much longer than him, and I've had the privilege of being associated with Ingrid for many, many years, and so I think they make a great couple. And so I'm very happy to have Srinath here on this panel. Ratish Balakrishnan is also an engineer, BITS Pilani. He's worked with SAP for many years before starting Sattva. He's one of the co-founders and managing partner of Sattva Consulting, which he's been doing for the last 15 years. He is also a published author and a TEDx speaker. And he's worked across a whole lot of sectors. I mean, he's trying to create collaboration between Samaj Sarkar Bazaar. And I think that's, again, another theme that we want to talk about today, about how Samaj Sarkar Bazaar work together towards this mission. And so he's been instrumental in creating these large-scale kind of programs of getting everybody together and so on. We're going to talk about that a bit later. And then we have Shilpi Patni, who's yet another engineer, MBA from Symbiosis, Pune. She's come down from Pune for this. Ratish has come down from Bangalore, so thank you very much for coming. So Shilpi also worked in all parts of Samaj Sarkar Bazaar. So she's worked with Infosys and Satyam and so on. She's worked with the government of Rajasthan, and now she's been working with Haq Darshak for several years. So combines all of that. Most importantly, her experience has been in using Digital India initiatives to ensure that the people can connect with the government schemes and so on that happen. And I think that we want to talk about how that technology might help with rural livelihood. So very interesting panel, and as we said, the topic is rural livelihoods, challenges and opportunities. We want to talk about both those, but we want to do it with a certain degree of granularity, if you like. We don't want to just talk about, because there's not just one rural India, there are many rural Indias. So there's a continuum, if you like, from urban rural. There's a continuum in education. There is continuum in level of skills and so on and so forth. So we want to break it down a little bit. We want to talk about, as I've said so many times already, and Samaj Sarkar Bazaar, and we believe that nothing can be done alone. Everything has to be done in collaboration. And we want to talk about what is it that we can do and so on, and how technology and so on can help. So after that rather long introduction, apologies for that, I'd like to start off with maybe Srinath and just to have you frame the key challenges, if you like, as we think about how we can get rural India back up to the same level that let's say urban India is at least today. So when we keep saying that, we talk about India at 75, and we say Bharat is not at 75. So by the time we get to 100, can India and Bharat be at the same level? What are the challenges in making that happen?
Thank you. Thank you for that rather elaborate introduction. Most of it was false, but I let it go at that. I think it was kind of summarized by the chairman, who said, basically talked about infrastructure, social capital, financial capital and skills. I think somewhere the answer is in the middle of that. If you see the challenges today, and I think some of the challenges were brought to the fore even more aggressively by COVID, was the difference between urban and rural India, unfortunately, is stark, and that gap is getting bigger and bigger. And unless we are able to do things to reverse that, unless we are able to do things to arrest that difference, that separation that's happening increasingly between the haves and have-nots, the challenges are going to become even more difficult for us to handle. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about AI and what AI can do or not do to help bridge that gap, or what technology can do at a more broader level. But to me, I think the big challenge for us right now is to find a way to get that difference. What you said, can we make Bharat equal to India, India equal to Bharat in a reasonable or a foreseeable time frame? And I think the real issues we need to address are around these four axes. Can we get our infrastructure to a point where the opportunities for people in rural areas are comparable to the kind of opportunities that you get in urban India? And infrastructure at a very broad sense. It's not just roads and transportation, telecom infrastructure and stuff like that, but infrastructure in its truest sense, where people have the capability to reach out to all of the capabilities that somebody in a town would have or a city would have. Public institutions, social welfare, social capital, healthcare, education, nutrition. We have challenges to address. A lot of work is being done to address those issues, but clearly there's a lot more to be done. And then financial capital. I think this is something which a lot of good work can be done. The opportunity to create, for want of a better word, let me say commercial capital for the opportunities that exist in rural India. We seem to believe that rural India cannot be profitable, rural India cannot be sustainable, rural India cannot have sensible livelihoods, which is a complete misnomer. Right? The entrepreneurship of the people, the willingness of people to get ahead in life, their hunger to do things is just unbelievable. And I've got lots of empirical evidence to say that that kind of stuff happens, which we can talk about as we go along. And of course, the work I think that Yuva Parivartan is doing and will continue to do, and hopefully we'll be able to scale a lot more, is to improve the capability of the people, skilling, including entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Shrina. Ratish?
Yeah, I'm just going to build on a lot of what is already being said, but I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. I think the way we are at the moment is that a lot of rural India is in agriculture. And 51% of India's population works in agriculture. That contributes to about 17% of the GDP. And the truth is that we just have way too many farmers in this country. And that is a problem. Because the earlier speaker said, wages are low. But even more importantly, with everything that is happening in climate change, the way we are organized this entire thing is that they're going to carry the highest level of risk, where everyone who's larger in an institution is going to hedge their risk in some form. So which means 51% of India is already earning low, is working really hard, and is going to be facing the greatest level of risk with very, very limited cover. Right? And so what we need to do in some sense, in my mind, is three things. One is assuming people who can move to cities will already move to cities and we need better cities. But for the people in rural India, find a way to make market action happen in rural India. And today, it is extremely hard to run a profitable company in rural India. We had a personal experience where we were young and stupid, so we said we will start apparel manufacturing, micro manufacturing units in rural India. So we actually said we'll create a space, put sewing machines, get women to work, sell the produce and make money, right? And that money goes to the women, makes logical sense. And we were asked to do this in Uttar Pradesh. There is Lucknow, Sitapur is a highway away, so you can actually travel. We wanted to do it in Bahrain. It's not possible. The logistics is too expensive. Everything becomes too expensive that the business is not viable. But if you're 1 hour away from Lucknow, you can run the same micro manufacturing unit profitably. And that is not a problem every business can solve. It is a problem of infrastructure. It is a problem of telecom. It's a problem of data. It is a problem of collecting payments, making payments, finding people, and so on. So one of the things that we have to do is to just create infrastructure, digital, telecom, human, data, payment infrastructure, so that the cost of doing business for everyone on top becomes lesser. We sometimes proudly say that a lot of Indian people are entrepreneurs. The truth is that 90% of them are distress entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs because they have nothing else to do. They don't employ other people. We need people who can employ people. And for that, they need to make money. And the way India is structured today in rural India, they can't make money. And hence, building infrastructure that will help them make money will then create jobs and profitability, number one. The second is to make farmers make more money. And sometimes I feel like we're confusing making farming sustainable versus making a farmer sustainable. The truth is that farming is difficult to be sustainable today. There was a recent survey that was done which showed that among farmers who make sufficient money, only 33% of their money actually comes from land. It's livestock, it's rural tourism, it's subsidies, it's remittance, it's wages. It's a combination of things. And unless we take a full model of this fact that the way India is structured with land sizes and efficiency, very hard to make farming sustainable, possible to make a certain number of farmers sustainable. We need to hit that number and make that full packet of services possible for farmers because we need farmers, but the current model of making farming sustainable, I don't think will scale. I think the second point. I think the third point is, and I think this was talked about a lot, when people talk about large numbers, 2 billion in population, 1.5 billion in population, some of us think of them as 1.5 billion stomachs to fill. Just you have so many people, you have to make so much money to fill them. Some of us think of it as so many heads that are going to solve the problem. And I think if we want to think of this as human capital, which is really for me what Yuva Parivartan stands for, which is unlocking human capital, these people need to have access to good quality skills and good quality education. Today in India, if a person has to get a job which will give them a fighting chance to get out of poverty, out of 100 people in grade 1 to 8, only 3 people have that opportunity. Everybody else is dropping along the way, right? They drop out of school, they drop out of high school, they go to college, they're unemployable after college, they don't get a job. It's 3 people out of 100 that actually get a fighting chance of getting out of poverty in one generation. That's not going to be sufficient. And the problem is not enough. It's not that we don't have enough jobs. We actually have more jobs. We just don't have employable people. So just meeting our current demand will get more people out of poverty. So these 3 things. One, how do we enable market action so that farmers who can't earn enough can do work, become entrepreneurs that create value and create jobs, number 1. And that requires infrastructure that ensures that their ability to business grows. Number 2, for farmers who continue to be farmers, how can we make farmers sustainable, not farming sustainable, through a package that will work and enable that package rather than just focus on land. And number 3, how do we truly unlock human capital for 60% of India through good quality education and skills?
That's such good points. In fact, yeah. In fact, earlier this week, when I spoke to Ratish for the first time, he used this line, we want to make farmers sustainable even though farming may not be sustainable. And I thought that's a great line. That's a great way to think of it. We need to worry about the people. And I think that the points that both of them have made so far, which is about infrastructure and about market action and unlocking the human potential, I think that these are great points. Sorry. Shilpi, your turn now. You got one more mic there.
I think this is fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, do you want to
frame
the key issues as the way you see it from your perspective? Yeah.
So I think we've talked about the numbers. We've talked enough about what is missing, like the infrastructure, the finances, and everything. I'll just share a little different perspective. I work closely with the field, so whatever little experience that I gained from field is, while there's a lot that is missing, I think there's lots that are available. The real challenge on field is discovery of what's available. There's a plethora of schemes that government has, opened up for the rural masses, for livelihoods, for people in special categories. Do they know about it? Are they aware? That discovery is a problem. While, we'll take years to compensate on what's not available in terms of infrastructure, connectivity, can we make the best use of what is available? Can we create infrastructure to discover the benefits that are already out there, the jobs that are already available, what skills does it require? There are, like Yuva Parivartan is doing great work in terms of skilling. There are other NGOs, small organizations in the rural pockets who are doing similar work. Can we make all of this available at a single platform for people to discover that such opportunities are available? So I think for me, when I work closely with the field, I feel that's a bigger challenge. Can we then connect people with the opportunities that are existing? Second point, I think, like Ratish rightly mentioned, people will move to urban areas, people who intend to move for education, for job. Can we also look at mitigating the risk of not letting them move to the urban spaces? Can we create opportunities in their rural ecosystem where They can either create self-employments and then create layers of employment. How do we block this migration? Because if this skilled manpower is migrating, who are we left with in the rural landscape? The aging population? Then what is the development that we are talking about? And I'm just bringing these two perspectives from the people that I, on a regular basis talk to, out there in the field. So for me, I think these are the primary challenges that can have immediate solutions available. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But Shilpi, I want to go back to you first, because you've got the experience of working with the government and in the government, actually, and specifically the work that Haq Darshak does in sort of connecting, as you said, government schemes with the people and what they're entitled for and so on. Do you want to expand on, I want you to expand on that a little bit in terms of what you've been doing, and perhaps bring in the role of technology into all of this, and in particular talk about how this is helping women in women's livelihoods.
Sure. So we are a 8-year-old startup where, we have, so I'll just talk about the technology bit first and then go to how it helps people. So we have a database of over about 7,000 central government and state government schemes, and also an app that is used by, we have an agent network on ground across the country. So this is an app that the agents use to create citizen profiles and then screen the citizen profiles across this database of government schemes. Once you screen the citizens across the database of these government schemes, the Haq Darshak agents then inform the citizens about their eligibility across these schemes, and then the final outcome is they help them with the application process. Now this agent network on ground, 80% of them is women. Till date we have trained about 40,000 agents, out of which 80% are women. How this really helps is, first, they work out of their convenience. Like, I think Sinha sir mentioned about, a woman, if she is even educated to a 10th grade, the amount of development that she can bring in her community would be humongous. So if we are able to train these women on basic digital financial literacy, that they are able to use these basic apps, they are able to make payments, I think it opens up a plethora of opportunities for them to use many such apps, right? And it's then a matter of their availability, that the opportunity, the entrepreneurship opportunity is available at her hand. I would also, I think somebody mentioned that, we don't want women to just be, child bearers or anything, but being a woman myself, I still feel that's the primary responsibility. So then can I have opportunities wherein I fulfill my primary caretaking responsibilities and then also have my own entrepreneurship journey. So I think that's where this is where the world is opening up for women, and especially women in the rural areas. Basic education, basic skilling, and that's where I think we'll have more development coming.
Thank you, Shilpi. Okay, I think we're running short of time, but I'm going to ask both of you one question each. So, Srinath, my question to you is about soft skills, right? We talked about the hard skills. We've got to teach them, livelihood skills. But what else do we need to teach people such that they can really genuinely become productive citizens? And I think my question for you, Ratish, so you can prepare as well, is to think about, we think of rural as being but apart from that, even within a village, you were talking to me about the center of the village and the size, and how caste and everything else gets into the picture, and how challenges that we have with upper and lower castes differ. So, Srinath, you first.
Given the challenges of working in today's environment, a person needs to be multi-capable, multimodal, multi-skilled to really be able to succeed in terms of communication skills, team working skills, and so on. And I think a lot of the focus in skilling in the past has largely been around functional skills or technical skills, and we've chosen to ignore the other aspects of what it takes for a person to be a successful employee, entrepreneur, whatever it takes. And I think more and more the feedback has started to come from potential employers that while you are technically preparing these people functionally to do the jobs that they have to do, they need to work in teams, they need to work in organizations, they need to work in structures, and unfortunately you're not doing enough to prepare people for those. So I think soft skills, I think now, I don't think it needs to be sold anymore. I think by and large people have understood the value for it, and I think pretty much everybody has accepted that soft skills are an important complement to completing a personality to make a person ready. At a more matlabi level, in fact, one of the things that we've seen, I've had conversations with people where they said, look, the person is excellent, but he fails in the interview. Right? He can't get past the interview because he comes into this panel, doesn't speak in a group discussion, cannot say anything in an interview. But then I take him outside at the chai break, I asked him a few questions, he answered everything wonderfully. So it's almost the opportunity to be unlocked. One, to succeed in the larger story in life, but even to get past that open door or to open the door and get in, I think you need to have a complement of soft skills to be able to supplement whatever you learn technically to be able to be successful. It's critical.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll keep this brief. I think we all, look at the poor, as we say, from a vantage point of where we are. We are 2% of India. We are people who have formal jobs, formal social security, live in a house, have a vehicle. And so we think that everybody below that is actually poor, right? But when you go to a village, you realize how deep an entrance this problem is. I always say this, that villages are organized as concentric circles of power. So if you put the center of the village in one place, the people closest to it usually are upper caste, educated, have a job, etc. I remember going to this place in Udaipur and this guy said to me, sir, हम गाड़ी में कहीं नहीं जाते, two-wheeler में. I'm like, क्या हुआ, पेट्रोल की प्रॉब्लम है? नहीं, कार पे जाना है. अगर गाड़ी में जाएंगे तो लोग क्या सोचेंगे? This is also rural India. This is immediately at the head of. But then you go multiple rounds at the fringes is another rural India. They are not just physically separated from everything that you have set up in the head office, Panchayat office, which is the computer, the digital Sakhi, all of that. They just socially separated from all of these facilities. Dr. Sinha talked about the 900 million people. It's good to just overlay the caste census on top of that and look at where people fall, right? And usually it will be the case that the people living in the bunds, they mostly don't have social registrations and security. They have an access problem, not just a physical access problem, a social access problems to the benefits that India is delivering. And almost always they get lost in what we are talking about. And when we talk about social impact, a lot of us, and this has happened, and I'm equally part of the same cult as engineer, is that we take a technocratic view of the society. We believe it's a supply-demand issue. We believe that if the demand can be orchestrated effectively, we will solve the problem. We forget that there are social issues that are holding us back. Recently, I read a book called The Unequal, which actually shows that parts of Bihar, compared to even parts of Bangladesh and Nepal, are vastly behind on every human development indicator, essentially because the structural reform that has happened in some parts of Nepal and Bangladesh haven't happened in Bihar. And so however much Bihar gets richer, the trickle-down effect, as they say, will not happen until the social transformation actually happens. And then, so what this means for us as people who work for impact is to keep our eyes open for the fact that there is a social structure that impedes people and we can't be conveniently blind about it. If we are, we can work with the topsoil of the poor, but cannot go deeper and make this country a hugely transformed one.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Mrinalini for asking me to moderate this session, because it's been a hugely learning experience for me talking to these three people, even before today's session and in today's session. I think there's lots more that we can get out of the three of them, but we need to hear our other chief guest as well, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Srinath, Mr. Balakrishnan, Ms. Patni, and
Be seated for 5 minutes, please. Thanks, Suman, and thanks, Srinath, Ratish, and Shilpi. I mean, that was insightful. So the takeaway, I mean, if I were to see as a listener, was that you have to break down the social barriers if the benefits have to reach across the country. That's the summation of what you three said. Thank you for that. We would like to felicitate the panel members. May I request Archana Nair to come up and felicitate Srinath, please. Archana? Thank you. May I request Uma Sundar Raman to come up on stage and felicitate Ratish, please. May I request Aparna Chalke to felicitate Shilpi, please. Aparna, where are you? May I request Aida Pereira and Shomali to come up on stage to felicitate the tough moderator, Suman. He was asking difficult questions.
Not at all. It was all set up. Hi.
Thank you. It was really great to hear all of you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Before we come to the valedictory speech by Mr. Shivanandan, I just want 5 more minutes of the audience. We'd like to take this window to felicitate some of the people who have been supporting us financially as well. So maybe request, I'd like Mrinal and Varun to come up on stage to felicitate some people. Can you come up on stage, Varun? Mrinal, please. Is Sanika Shideye from Nomura? Is she there? Yes, please. Please come up on stage. Yeah, please. Thank you. Shefali Asija from Angel One. Shefali? Is she there? Is Shefali Asija from Angel One here? Okay, I'll go to the next one. I mean, you can locate her if she's there. Next is Neeraj Zavle and Samida Salvi from Satwa Consulting. Are they here? Shefali has come. Okay, please get her on the stage here, please. Shefali, moral of the story, never get off the stage at the wrong time. Please come up. Shefali is from Angel One.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for the good work.
Thank you. Can we have Neeraj and Samida from Satwa to come up on stage, please?
Thank you. This is for the ladies.
Sasha Sonawane from Blue Star.
No,
Sasha?
Alisha.
Alicia, please.
Alisha, please come.
Come forward. Alicia is from Blue Star, and again, one more organization which has been actively supporting us.
You get the honors.
There's one more.
Thank you.
There's one more. Rupa Tanna, Jubilee.
Yes, you come out.
There's Krupa Tanna from HDBFS. Please come on the stage. They have been our strong supporters.
What is that? Just say HDFC.
Krupa, HDBFS. Come, Krupa.
Okay. Okay. Come in.
Hi.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Please look at the audience.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's a nice shawl? Coconut. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrinal. Thank you, Varun. Okay, now we come to the valedictory speech. Before that, Mr. Shivanandan has requested for about 15 to 20 minutes. That was the time allotted to him. He has a presentation to make. But before that, I'll briefly take you through his background. Most of you already know of him because of Mr. Gopal has already given you the top introduction. Essentially, to say it again, everybody knows him, especially from Mumbai, even though people are bad like me. He was the Director General of Police from Maharashtra. He was the Commissioner of Police in Mumbai. And I should say this anecdotally also, one of the most approachable police chiefs that I have ever seen, because during my time with Advertising World, we used to interact with him quite often. Believe me, it was an open door policy with him, and very sharp listener and quick in execution. Thank you for that, Shivanandan. He was, besides CP of Mumbai, he was also the CP of Thane and Nagpur. He worked for 6 years in the Intelligence Bureau. He was 3 years in CBI as Joint Director West Zone, 6 years as additional CP and Joint CP of the famous crime branch of Mumbai, 3 years as Deputy Inspector General of Police of the Naxalite-infested Nagpur. Note that. Range consisting of Gadchiroli and Gondia district. By the way, Yuva Parivartan also has a presence in Gadchiroli, and they are making a remarkable job. Perhaps because of the precedent set by Shivanandan, it is more amiable today. He runs an NGO called Roti Bank, and which has served about 13 million free meals so far in 5 years. He is a chairperson of a trust called Public Concern for Governance Trust. Another NGO, it was set up by Mr. Julio Ribeiro. Everybody would be knowing of him as well, the famous police chief. He has co-authored a national bestseller called Chanakya's 7 Secrets of Leadership. He was also involved in a way in the making of the movie called Company by RGV, right? So this is the background. With that, may I request Mr. Shivanandan to come on stage. He requires a remote, this one. Do you have it, please?
Mr. Nagesh.
Yeah, you got it?
They're good. They're very good people. Good evening, friends, ladies, gentlemen, and all the dignitaries and other dignitaries. Everyone is a dignitary here. Since I am the last batsman, I'm expected to get out with one hit and go home. I'll allow you to go home. That's the idea. But 15 minutes, if someone, Mr. Nagesh can tell me in 15 minutes, what I have been asked to speak is completely different from what happened now. You all spoke about development, villages, farmers, all those good things. No, population control, 70 crores, 80 crores, fantastic. But I've been asked to speak about how difficult it is for a youngster to be an youngster today. For me, there was nothing. When I was an youngster, there was no issue at all. If I don't reach the place in good time, my food was not there in the house because others have eaten it away. Now today you have to send a WhatsApp saying that come over, food is ready and things like that. So I would like to make it as short as possible. In this, I would like to take you, before I show my slides, that what happened to Shraddha Walkar, Aftab and Shraddha living together, and she was cut into 35 pieces. 20 minutes, 25 minutes? Madam is so kind. Thank you, ma'am. So please tell me, ma'am, you only tell me. I'll wind it up in 1 minute. Okay. What happened to Shraddha Walkar? 35 pieces ended up her young life. Looking at that in the media, some other Yadav and one more girl also indulged in same thing. The girl was cut, not the boy. So there is another girl who was 16 years old, rejected in love in the school, and she went to the top floor of a building in Kandivali and she jumped. And all the people around down below were filming, live streaming, filming and all that kind of thing. That is the difficulty of being a young person. Now the other boy in Taj Bandra a year or two before, his parents were from Bangalore, they were sending money, he was in the NMIMS college, BCom or whatever it is. He did live streaming of committing suicide successfully. He locked the door. By the time the police were alerted, he broke the glass window and jumped. So there is this Kota factory. Recently, last week, a girl wrote to her father that this is the end of the journey, I can't do anything about it. All of about 16, 17 years committed suicide from a poor background. JEE or whatever exams were there. So today, most of the girls who run away for living with the youngster who they have selected are traced and hacked by the family because of the Kap Panchayat and other things. The other problem is, I met this very famous diabetologist yesterday. He said he is having a problem of depression. And he said his daughter, I know the child from the school where I know that girl. She is trying to become an Olympic medal winner. She is undergoing the training. I am sure she is going to get into that status. But she is having depression. And you know about Deepika Padukone and various others and things like that. So that is the problem. So ladies and gentlemen, the number of, it's a pandemic stage we have reached. The number of suicides which are happening in the country is 1,70,000 a year. 400 or so in a day. And out of that, many of them are youngsters. Various reasons. What great reasons they can have? Failure in love, some boy rejected, girl rejected. They can't be indebted like the farmers of Maharashtra and things like that. So that is not being accidents. Do you know accidents? How many people die? 1,65,000 people. 70% are youngsters with mobiles. 70%. That is 400 people a day, 440, 445 people a day are dying, and they are all 70% are youngsters. So this is the problem of being a youth today. So Ms. Carol Andrade asked me, do you have a problem fixing, you have a solution? I said, what solutions can we give except telling the parent, can you not fight away from the eyesight of the children? All the young people who are IT and given to good life, they can't fight away from the children. And the children are having massive problems. Do you know children have diabetes and stress and blood pressure and things like that, unidentified, and they have problems. So also predators, like a watchman about 3 days before, 1 week before, in a Kandivali English school, a small child of 4 years, a watchman sexually misbehaved with the child. Principal was trying to suppress, the case was registered, all that. Okay, all that. So with that kind of a background, what I want to say, who are youth? 19 and 20 or below that. Then this NYP, I will skip that. These children are about 1.3 billion people, and this is all over the world. And they have about 27% of the Indian population is between the youth, that is 15 and 20 years. And these NYP I will skip. Globally, 1 in 7 of 10 to 19-year-olds experience a mental disorder. Tare Zameen Par is not a mental disorder, it is only dyslexia, accounting for 13% of the global burden of disease in this age group. They are the future and we have to worry about. Common teenage problems are this. If you can see, drug abuse. Punjab, 70% of the youth are having problems of drug addiction. And social media issues, because full time it is their job. They full time they are doing that social media handling, academic problems because of various issues. We are pushing them to become this and that, JEE, IIT and things like that. Obesity is an issue. Bullying is an issue. Body shaming is a big issue. There was a famous school in BKC where the cinema stars' children were all body shaming each other cruelly. That was a very cruel kind of exchange. And then we have this depression and various other issues. Did we have, or most of us, did we have all these issues? I don't think so. But then we did that. Self-esteem and body image is a major issue, ladies and gentlemen. Is a major issue, and we have to be counseling them. I don't know how many schools can afford counseling and do that. And here is the mental health, body image and self-esteem issue. Self-esteem is what? Am I as beautiful as anybody? Am I as handsome as Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie? Or body image, I am not endowed with all the other things which others have. Maybe body complexion, maybe other thing, this and all that. Can elaborate, but since time is less, I am just jumping. Mental health. So many people, the parents have mental health issue. For example, a deputy commissioner the other day stopped children at about, say, let us say 2:33 in the night. They were driving a car and they said, your parents don't talk to you. They don't admonish you. He said, uncle, we reach home first and the parents come later. So they don't know that we are there or not. You know, one Contessa car that time, 15-20 years before, 4 children took the car in the middle of the night, went at breakneck speed and they hit the pole in Worli, that Worli sea face. Car broke into 2. All of them obviously are dead. So these are all because of this kind of issues, and narcotics, drinking, all that is another issue. Bullying, cyber and physical, both. You know, you are ugly, you are loser, you are black, you are dark, you are short, all sorts of nonsense. But then, how do we handle it? She asked me, where is the solution? Solution is the parents have to start with teachers, schools, environment, others and all that. So we have to stop bullying, identify this as a problem. Physical, verbal, social and cyber. Just now while sitting there, one young girl has sent me saying that somebody is hacked perhaps and they are putting all my personal pictures in the media. Help me. And I told you, send your husband to the police station and ask him to talk to me. We'll file a case. He says he is in Pune, I am in Mumbai. My simple question, which I did not ask her, is why do you have such intimate pictures on your phone or other things that you are afraid that a hacker will put it in the Facebook and social media? Can we not be? I mean, now, madam, you are asking me, why don't you give me a solution? This is the solution, but how do you tell a young person? She's working in a company, but then what kind of advice can you give? So depression, most of us have. Most of us have, big people, and I mentioned about my successful doctor. So it is a personality disorder is a major issue. Panic attack people get. I know many doctors having this problem. Anxiety, we used to get only during exams, but people are having it 365 days. Then sleep disorder, depression and social anxiety disorder. This is a new addition we've got. So these are all symptoms of what the teen. Do we have time to see? Do the teachers have time to identify? Do they have any? Only it manifests sometimes by someone taking it. In the USA, you see, yesterday also someone had taken out a gun and shoot. The parents' gun, the children's gun, people are getting killed in the school and in hundreds. And there is no solution. What solution can we have? So, ladies and gentlemen, depression, anxiety and behavioral disorders are among the leading causes of illness and disability among the adolescents, the future of Bharat. Stress created by whom? By the parents. So, teenagers report a stress level of 5.8 out of 10 during the school year. 10th standard, 12th standard, we tell them you have to do this, you have to do what I have not been able to do, then I am forcing my children to do. And children do have a major issue about that. You could not do anything about it. You are asking me to do that. Peer pressure, smoking, drinking, driving, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, they have to do all those things because of the peer pressure. The other day, when I was the commissioner of police, in the Marine Drive, at about 7:30, a huge car was going in front of me. My constable shouted, sir. I said, what happened? He says somebody is throwing eggs on those people who are walking and the car is speeding. Car is speeding and the people who are coming, I stopped the car. The then Home Minister's nephew was there in that. One airline's owner's son was there in that. The best part is that airline, it doesn't exist now, one of the finest airlines, you know who it is. He rings up and tells me, sir, I have a very important meeting. My son has been kept in the police station by you. You have taken him to the police station and see that he helped and all. I can't come. I can't rescue. I can only talk to you on phone. It happened to me. I am telling you what happened to me. If that is what is and what were they doing? Then it's setting missiles on poor people who are walking in the morning. Eggs from a speeding car. Is it a mental disease or not? You have to recognize what is the solution. Too much of money, ma'am. You ask me what is the solution? Too much of money. Take it out. So here is the pressures which they say. Social media addiction. There are detox centers now. Earlier we have been putting people, my friends, children and all, when they said narcotics de-addiction, like Kripa Foundation in Bandra and all that. Today for detoxing from this, there is a thriving business now. People are all doing detoxing of from the mobile phones. Too many pictures come in the newspaper where in a small group of 5 people, 6 of them are watching the mobile phone. They are not even talking to anybody. Look at in the elevators in all our societies where we live. These high-risers, no one says hello to anybody. They are all continuously either they are talking or watching the whatever material they get on the phone. Maybe that pornographic picture the girl had put in, which the hacker has wants to put in. Is that what they are seeing? I don't know. So here, drug abuse. I told you the extent of drug abuse. A port recently had 3,000 kilos of heroin. 27,000 crores had come. So like that, it is coming and going and it is being used. And in Punjab, you have drones coming and delivering free drugs to people. That is narco-terrorism or narco-war. So people are getting used to that. Alcoholism, stress. What is the relief? Stress means alcoholism. Have a cigarette. That boy, that Facebook boy in Taj, he ordered a full bottle of whiskey and he had a packet of cigarettes, ordered a plate of pasta. He was doing live streaming as to how he is going to commit suicide. This is the standard. This is a yardstick. Alcoholism, then smoking, tobacco addiction, and then parental pressure, about which I mentioned. Look at this child. Isn't it a common sight? It is. Yesterday also I saw a movie. It is called Ashes in Netflix. All about this only, all about this. So time management, exams, various things, managing time for a student is also a problem. Then these are all things which are being told to him by MBAs and gurus and yogis and various others. Cyber crime is a major problem for the children, both as victims and as well as the participants. It's a major problem. In a minute's time, multi-million, multi-billion things are happening in the cyber world. In a minute's time, whatever statistics I have given, I can elaborate, but since there is lack of time, I am going ahead. But who are the participants? Are there the villagers, the Indian villagers who are supposed to be going ahead and all that? They also are indulging in. We have the highest number of people in the world who have this internet and other facilities. So these are the cyber crime, cyber bullying. It's a crime, but how many of us go to the police station register? Even if we go, how many of them will register and take a cognizance of all these things? But it is a major issue. We can't put it under the carpet. Cyber stalking. Earlier we used to sing songs, but now it is cyber stalking. Cyber grooming related to indulging in sexual acts. A 72-year-old All India Service officer told me that he was involved in that, where he was asked to remove his clothes, and then it was a meta figure came, a woman obviously without clothes. They recorded and were asking for ransom money. I asked, why did you do this at this age? He says, loneliness. I hope all of you understand. Loneliness. When so much crowd is there, you are lonely. I hope you all understand that is. There are 3,000 people in a gathering, but people are feeling lonely. Can you identify? Can you do something about it? That is the problem. Juveniles in conflict with law, it is growing, it is growing. and COPS, these are all the NCRB figures, which I will jump. So these mobile games, it is not games, it is the gambling I am talking about. It is an addiction with the teenagers, and a lot of people are committing suicide because of that. This industry in 2023 was supposed to be worth 15,500 crores. 2023. Obviously 2024 will be 20% more year on year, it has to grow. So that is the problem. Now children associated with terrorism. In J&K, a 5-year-old child can put the hand inside that, clock and take out a hand grenade and haul. And also is Libya, so is Gaza, so is Syria, so is many other places. Even Nigeria, that Boko Haram had taken away entire school of girls, and they kept the children for 5, 6, 7 years with them. 1 or 2 others used to get pregnant and come out and inform. So children as young as 14 are being used by terrorists in J&K and many other countries, J&K not alone. Moving forward, what we can say is learn to say no. Parents, teachers, others, children, we have to teach them to say no. Even sexual offences in the Workplaces Act. Corporate, Tarun Tejpal, various Tehelka, no? All that kind of a thing are examples. We learn to say no. Never stop learning about protecting yourself and protecting the others. Be honest with your children. Be honest with your parents is something which we can tell a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old. But why don't we tell the parents, be honest with the children. Okay, we are fighting it out. We are going in for a divorce or whatever it is. Let us handle it in the most appropriate way. So try, fail, try again, and ultimately, if you are a positive person like me, you will be succeeding in this. Thank you very much. My time, I don't know whether it is over or I have taken more. It is 7 o'clock. I am well within the time. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for giving me a patient hearing.
Give him one more round of applause, please. Mr. Shivanandan, that hit us at the guts actually. Difficult facts to face, but then the youth are the potential. At the same time, it's a scary situation. Thanks so much for that. Thank you so much. Now, we have come to the end of the day's function. And before I call upon Mr. Milind Chitre to come up to the stage and propose a vote of thanks, I just wanted to convey the thanks to everybody for patient listening and being with us on this important occasion. Thank you so much. Milind?
Yeah, so what an evening. All great speakers, great topics, great audience. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks to all of you here for making this 25th year valedictory function a great success. Yeah, I have a couple of minutes, so I will thank Dr. Sinha for his insightful talk and to say that India's problems can be solved only if you work at scale, and that our founder, Mr. Kher, hammers in our minds every day, at least 4 times a day. Scale, scale, scale. Rural India, rural India, rural India, and skilling. So I think we are on the right track. Thank you, Mr. Sivanandan, for a great lecture encapsulated in a very short time, but I think giving a message to everybody, learn to say no, understand when to stop. So I think that's very useful. Thank you, Carol, for the great write-up on Yuva Parivartan. It was a pleasure working with you. Then Thanks to all our panelists, Mr. Srinath, Ratish, and Shilpi, and Suman for moderating the discussion so well. Rural opportunities, challenges, rural livelihoods, challenges and opportunities. Yeah, we have to hit at the social structure along with the infrastructure, social capital, financial capital, and the rural MBAs that we need to create to bring this change in the rural areas. Thank you, Dr. Gopal Krishnan, for making us wiser. Women, income, skilling, entrepreneurship, and rural India. Thank you, Dr. Gopal Krishnan. Thank you, Mr. Kher, for setting the context and taking us on the right path of achieving scale. My special thanks to Mr. Nagesh Alai for weaving this entire program together and taking ownership to the last level of details of what should go in the bag and what should be outside handed over. Thank you, Nagesh. I also take this opportunity to thank all our YP friends who have been with YP for more than 25 years, our current and ex-board of advisors. Thank you for all your support and all your help. Your support has been a great motivation for all the current YPians to continue the work that has already been going for the last 25 years. Thank you. I appreciate all the help by the YPians who have worked in the background and the YB Chavan Center staff to make this program a great success. My special thanks to all our sponsors who have come to attend this program and who have also supported this program. Thank you all. Again, if I have missed anybody, that is because of we are rushing. My apologies if I have missed to thank anybody else. I think now all of us understand a little bit more of what really needs to be done and how it needs to be done to make our Bharat more prosperous through entrepreneurship and skilling, and how to handle the challenges that our youth are facing. So thank you everybody for a great evening. Hope we have a lot of takeaways with us. Thank you.
I think tea and rituals are served outside. Please partake of them, please. Thank you.